Alrighty guys, today we're going to be talking about fall fishing. Top 3 fall baits we're going to be going over. If you want to see the shorthand version of it, just go to my Instagram, ethan.laguerrefishing over there, and you can see the quick bit of it. But if you like a little bit more long-term or long-form stuff, going a little bit more in-depth, then here you go. So, fall fishing, my mind goes to moving baits. Really, I like moving fast, covering water. It's very efficient and effective in the fall. A, because the fish are moving around all the time. They're chasing bait. The shad chasers are the ones that move around a bunch more. I mean, bluegill and crawfish, they're not going to just migrate from the back of a pocket to the front very quickly. Your shad fish, your fish that are primarily targeting shad, those are the ones that are going to move around a bunch. So, and in the lakes around here, the DFW area, that's mainly what we've got. I mean, there are some bluegills, some crawfish forage for them too, but shad's the primary forage, I think, at least of the bass around here. So start off, we've got a 6 cents Dogma. This is the 115 size, and this guy, not just good for the early mornings or just the evening bites, like the low light periods. You can catch them. Some of the best times to catch them on a top water in the fall is in the middle of the day. The places you're going to want to target with this guy are going to be points, secondary points, the backs of pockets like drains, stuff like that, backs of creeks, anywhere where the fish are pushing bait up to the surface and feeding on them. I mean, you'll see it right off the bat too. I mean, if you notice a bunch of fish blowing up, I mean, there's a lot of trash fish around here that blow up all the time, but you can tell when it's bass blowing up for the most part. Depending on where you're at. I mean, if it's just in the middle of the freaking lake, most of the time won't be a bass. But if it's on a point in the back of a pocket kind of deal, you can kind of pick it apart real quick and see if they are bass. And if you get bit real quick on a top water, then there you have your answer. So those are the places you want to key in on with this guy. Don't just throw it in the low light periods. It can be a great middle of the day tactic. Around docks or another good one. You can call them out of there. Shade lines on the docks, shade lines on the banks, that kind of deal. Because my theory is the lakes are turning over, so the bottom doesn't have as good of oxygen content even up shallow. That's just, I mean, it's purely theory based. I don't know if that's actually scientifically accurate, but since the lakes are typically starting to turn over this time of year, the fish push shallow, and that bottom level of water isn't as oxygenated, even up shallow, like I said. So my theory is the bait's rising up, so that's why the fish are feeding more upward, and top water is really good this time of year is because of that. So enough about the top water. Next moving bait is going to be a square bill, and this guy is a 6 cents Crush 50X, I believe. I think in the Instagram one I said 100, but this is definitely the 50 size, a lot smaller. And this guy is going to be good for fishing around laydowns, fishing around rocks, any kind of rock, whether it's riprap, big boulder rock banks, chunk rock banks, a mix of it all, gravel banks, stuff like that. And this kind of disproves the theory of the bottom water, like the bottom couple feet of the water column up shallow being a little less oxygenated. But sometimes the fish they're not always going to be feeding up, so you need something to be able to deflect off of and catch them closer to the bottom, and that's what this guy's really good for. It's also good to cover. It's really good because you can cover a lot of water with it and really locate where those fish are, because in the fall the fish move around a bunch, or they can move around a bunch, because if the bait leaves, fish are probably going to leave because they're feeding up for winter time. To try and get that fat belly so they can make it through the winter. And square bill and top water, two of my favorite ways to do it, and efficient ways, because you can cover a lot of water, like I've been saying, and catch a bunch of fish. Hopefully, that's the key at least, or that's the goal. I don't think I left anything out on that one. And then docks, I mean, these two are pretty interchangeable. You can fish them around a lot of the same kind of places. And if I didn't already say it, shallow ledges are good places for these. So like what I'm saying is, like, you got a point, I'll put this in the video, you got like a point that comes out and it's a real flat shallow point, and then it's got a steep ledge, so you can crank them, and then you can throw a top water on them too, because a lot of the times fish are pushing bait up on there, and if where the fish are at, you want to be throwing. So that's why it makes sense to be throwing on those kind of ledge deals, because it's great places for the fish to push bait up on. So if the fish are there, you're going to want to throw there for sure. Wow, that's brutal. Well, I think we got enough out of that, hopefully. Next, it's my final choice, 6th Sense hybrid jig. And this guy, this one's probably the most versatile out of all of them, because you're going to be able to fish it not only up shallow, flipping wood, flipping around docks, swimming it around docks and laydowns, dragging it on shallow rock, that kind of deal. But you can also fish it out in shallow brush piles, deeper brush piles if there's still some fish hanging around offshore. So it's really effective for that. And you can customize it really any way you want, different trailers, different colors. And then you can also, I'll probably make a video on this too, just for educational purposes, but you can make this guy even to a finesse style jig too by just cutting the top half of the skirt. So this one's probably the most versatile one out of the top 3. They all have their place for sure, but if you're looking for the most versatile one, the jig is probably going to be that guy for you, and for me too, because you can throw it in all depths. Top water, you're not always going to be, you can't really throw it in 30 foot of water unless the fish are doing the right things, and then go up and catch them at 2 foot like you could with a jig. I mean, you can catch them at 2 foot, but the whole 30 foot thing is just not as applicable, especially around where I live. I mean, if you're out East Texas, Lake of the Ozarks, where the fish are pushing bait out deep like that, it's definitely very doable. So if y'all have any further questions on this, don't hesitate to drop them in the comment section. And thank y'all for watching this video, and we'll see you in the next one.